All right, so welcome everybody to dialogue number 2. My name is Kathleen O'Wegan. I am a professional facilitator, mediator, and trainer with Bridges of Peace. That's my own company. I am an independent contractor for the city of Albuquerque, contracted to facilitate these meetings, land use meetings, community mediations, all kinds of things. And it is an honor and a privilege to be a part of this process. And thank you all for being here with us today. With me is my cohort, co-facilitator, Ray Terhorst. Ray, would you tell them a little bit about yourself and your role in this meeting?
I will. Today, well, to back up, Ray Terhorst, I'm been doing this work for 13 years, and Kathleen and I have often worked together. Today, my position here is to record what is being said in the meeting so that it can be placed into a report that is then forwarded to the city attorney and is distributed to the heads of the city, including the mayor, following this meeting.
Exactly, and we'll tell you more about all of that in just a moment. Tyson, did you have something?
I'd like to make a quick announcement. It turns out, ladies and gentlemen, that we have a little excess capacity. So if there are observers, including people on standby who would like to participate, if you'd like to raise your hand, we have room for 8 to 10 at least.
If you'd like to participate.
It is another room.
It's in a different room.
And
Well,
what's the
why
different
aren't we all in the
topic?
same room?
Same topics.
Because in order to have the dialogues need to be intimate,
Alright.
small groups.
Why
And
don't we
when
all start and see who we all are first? And then,
Well,
last meeting.
Because what happened the last meeting was that we had circles in the same room, and we got much negative feedback about sound bleed and about observers not being able to hear. So we're trying to accommodate the feedback we get in each meeting by improving the process. And so this time we're trying small rooms so that people can hear and so that we don't have sound bleed between the groups. So people self-identify as a stakeholder who wants to participate. We don't say you are or you aren't a participant. People sign up and they say, I want to participate, and those are the people that come to the table. And if we have more people coming to the table, we'll create more groups. That's what we do. But for this process now, we like to have an intimate conversation because this is a sensitive and emotional topic. Not just this stakeholder group alone, but for all of the city. We have had pain in this city for a long time because of the challenges that we have faced together. So when we have sensitive conversations, it's nice to have it be a small, intimate group. And so that's how this is designed. One second, Diane, I'll be right with you. If any of you, I'll get you in a second, Tad. If any of you have any comments about how we can improve the process, we have comment forms that you can put that on, but we won't be taking dialogue time to talk about how to improve the process. There's comment forms out front where it says you can put your concern and then what your proposed action is. We read that and we do our best to act on that. So I'll hear from Diane and Tad, but we don't want to spend our dialogue time talking about process. So Diane, what's on your mind?
May I ask how the two groups, how it was determined which person would go in each of the two groups? Was there some kind of a dividing? Was it random?
Oh, in terms of the two different rooms?
Well, how was it decided?
They basically took the first participants that came in and put them in here, and then put the rest in there. And so that was the only differentiation. We don't know anybody from anybody. Tad, you have something to say?
Yes, I can see two problems. First, last meeting we had projector. And now I can see we got only one camera, media.
Okay.
Over there, I couldn't see it, media.
Okay.
Well, that is
That's the,
observation.
okay. And it's really up to the media where they come and go. And so if they show up, we welcome them, and if they don't, then they had something else that they needed to do. And again, we're trying different processes. We got feedback last time on people not being able to see the projected notes. Ray is going to be taking notes without a projector, and if at any point in time we need to go back and reference something somebody said, Ray will do the rapid scroll up and down, and we'll refer to what people said. So if everybody's willing, I'd like to go ahead and get started with the official part of the meeting. I need for you, sir, I would be happy to hear you. I also need for you to make a name tag so I can address you by name. But what is your comment, sir?
Are these the local television stations?
I'll let this gentleman tell you who he is. Sir, can you tell them who you are, please?
Independent.
Okay? All right, and the other gentleman is a UNM student, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So,
That answers my question.
so that who you have at the table. I need to make sure everybody at the table has a name tag with their name large so that I can see
Where
it.
is it?
Thank you. And then also, does everybody have a copy of the handout?
Who was sitting there before you, Ernie?
Excuse me one
Ernie
moment.
Put his name tag on, that's where it was.
I was a Boy Scout in my last incarnation, and therefore I am always prepared. All right, so everybody at the table has a handout as well, is that correct? Excellent. Okay, so,
Are there any extra pens anywhere? I'm sorry, I seem not to have one.
I'm sorry?
A pen. Are there any extra pens? Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, so, getting started. Okay, so, if we could,
We are witnessing this.
so if we could have everybody's attention, please, so that we can get started with the official process and all be able to hear one another. This, as I said before, can be a sensitive conversation. And we can have a lot of emotion around it. Because of that, because we want to make sure that everybody feels safe saying what they need to say and hearing what they need and what they need other people to hear, we do have guidelines for this process that we are asking you to abide by. And you will see them on the inside left page of your handbook. They are to speak and listen with respect so that we can learn from one another, to be as concise as possible so that everybody has a chance to speak. We have a limited amount of time, several people at the table, so we're going to ask you to present your thoughts concisely. We're going to ask you to please address the problem without attacking the person, to seek clarification before making assumptions, and where applicable, if we're talking about solutions, which we will be doing more of in the later phase of this process, we ask you to seek solutions that meet everyone's needs. All right? And then we also ask you to please share your thoughts, your beliefs, and your ideas without trying to convince someone to change their own. All right? We're here to hear each other's thoughts, not to change each other's minds or convince each other of our point of view being more right than another's. So we share, but we don't try to convince others to change their own mind. We ask you to please listen to understand and to gain insights into the experiences, beliefs, and concerns of the others. My role in this meeting is simply to help keep our conversation friendly, focused, on task, and on time. And as part of that process, if need be, I may from time to time have to remind us that we've wandered away from the guidelines and we need to return to the path. All right, so I really appreciate everybody's help with that. Yes, Alan?
On number 3,
Yes, sir.
where it says address the problem, don't attack the person.
Yes, sir.
Okay, like, we're attacking the Albuquerque Police Department, so we're not allowed to say that?
No. But it would be, for example, let's say that you...
A particular officer in the
If there were an officer in the room, or if you strongly disagree with somebody else's perspective, rather than
No.
saying you lowlife, whatever,
No,
you
no,
just
no,
say,
no.
here's
I
the
just want to
concern.
make sure that when it says address the problem, don't attack the person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm here because of the Albuquerque Police Department.
We all are. Yes,
There's a
sir.
whole bunch of people in the Albuquerque Police Department, so I don't want to go against your own rules.
Right, so you can certainly express your concerns, your
Right.
upset, your anger. If there were an officer at the table, then I would need for you to
That's
speak
his-
with him with the same respect you would speak with everybody else in the room. But at this moment, we're going to go ahead and move forward, but thank you for that question. So, let's see, what else? Okay, so for those of you that are observers, if you ever want to participate, make sure and sign up. All the dialogues require pre-registration so that we have enough facilitators. That's the only reason why. Because if we have 100 people who want to participate, we want to have the staff here for you. So let's see what else. I want to introduce you to this. Most of you have seen this if you've been at other dialogues. We've already talked about the guidelines for the dialogue. We've below that, we have some just different understandings about dialogue and what dialogue can do for people and for relationships. We're not going to go through those in detail, but I did want to bring them to your attention. You see on the agenda that we're going to have a series of questions that we're going to be asking you. And we'll talk about those in just a moment as we go through them. At 12:50, there should be pizza outside the door. And at 1 o'clock, we're gonna take a break, grab our pizza, you're welcome to bring it on in and eat it in here. But we know,
Mayor brought pizza 9?
beg your pardon?
Does Mayor deliver pizza 9?
I don't know the answer to that question. But what I do know is that we honor the fact that you were all here through your lunch hour. And we don't want you to be in blood sugar crash during that, so we'll have pizza for you in just a little while. And then we'll adjourn promptly at 2:30. And one of the things that I do need is, if people need to have conversations with one another in this room outside the dialogue, if you could step outside so that we can all hear each other. So if Larissa and Tad, if you need to have more conversation, it may be distracting while other people are trying to talk, so it's useful to step outside if you need to talk to each other some more.
No, we don't.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you is on the back of the dialogue book. This is the process of these collaboratives. We are now in phase 1, where we are having these dialogues. This is the listening phase. The information from these dialogues, which are currently scheduled into February, and can be scheduled even longer to make sure that we hear from everybody who needs to be heard. So they could go into the summer if we need to. Once the energy dies and we don't have people registering anymore, then we close phase 1 and we go to phase 2, where the information from these dialogues is compiled into a report by somebody at UNM, and that report will show the patterns of what we've heard from the community and the different stakeholder groups. And from that report, we will then move into creating action teams who are going to come up with action plans to address that feedback that we heard the most. We won't necessarily be able to address everybody's suggestion because hundreds of people are participating, but where we see strong patterns and strong passion in our city to take a certain action, those will be the ones that we'll form action teams on. And then there will be, in phase 3, oversight to make sure those action plans that are approved by the city are implemented. So that's this process. We're now in phase 1. Any questions so far about anything I've said? No? Quite the download. Yes, Diane?
So the people who are going to be part of the developing the action plan, they will be selectively handpicked from these meetings that we're having to. Or is it everybody still that's part of this group today that will be part of the action plan?
I honestly can't give you an answer that I know is for sure. I know that they will have some kind of a vetting, inviting kind of process involving people who participated in the process, not looking at all the people that signed in as observers. Okay. But if you sat at the table, you may receive an invitation to participate in a group, or they may ask you if there's one you'd like to participate in.
But you also may not be invited to those meetings.
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. I'm sorry. Okay. But the people that signed you in, Annabelle and Tyson, I can give you their phone numbers. Okay. And if you need more details like that I can't answer for you, I can let you know how to reach the people who designed all of this and are taking it forward.
That's right.
Okay? Oh, all right, so let's get to the questions, if we shall. So you'll see in your handout, okay, that the first question that we're going to be exploring is, what are your goals and expectations for police-community relations in Albuquerque? And 1A, which you can sort of answer with 1 if you have a thought on this, is, why is this important to you? What are the expectations, values, beliefs, and feelings that influence your goals? So that's the first question we're going to be asking you. Then in number 2, we're going to be asking you your goals and expectations for community interactions and conduct in Albuquerque, and why these are important to you. Now, in the first dialogue, we had several people that were confused, saying, what's the difference between relationship and interactions? And so we have a brief little explanation for you, just in case that confusion is one that you share. Relations are the way in which 2 or more people or things are connected, and the context and tone of that connection. That's relations. So examples of goal relations that people may have in context of the community-police relationship might be things like, we might have a goal or expectation of a trusting relationship, a protective one, a partnership, supportive, those kinds of things. That's what we're looking for. What's the relationship like? Then with interactions are the way that we treat each other, or the way that we communicate within a relationship. So the way that we interact with one another can strongly affect or even change the relationship, right? If you have a trusting relationship and an interaction is one that feels like betrayal of trust, then the relationship changes, right? So what we're looking for is what kind of interactions and conduct would you want to see that would meet your goal of the kind of relationship we would have. So for an example, if your goal relationship is trusting, then you might want conduct to be respectful, and you might want interactions to be personable and transparent, because that's what builds trust. So does that make sense, what I've said? Yes? Okay. So first part is relationship. What is the ideal relationship? I say the words from the book. What are your goals and expectations for police-community relations in Albuquerque, and why are these goals and expectations important to you? So I'm just going to alternate going around the table in different directions. And we're going to first hear, let me tell you this first. If you'd like to write down your thoughts, the reason we have index cards here is if you want to take a minute to write down what your thought is in response to the question. We thought for some people that might be helpful, so that's why they're there. So Barbara, if you wouldn't mind starting first and giving us your answer to what your goals and expectations are and why they're important to you. And if we could all,
in terms of my relationship with
excuse me one second. I really need for all of us to focus on the person who's the designated speaker, please. I beg your pardon, Barbara. Would you please start again?
So, if I'm having a relationship with somebody and they are killing unarmed civilians, I want my relationship with that person ended. That's my expectation, is that my relationship with police who kill unarmed civilians, not once but twice or any number of times, is over.
Okay, all right, got that. And then, once that relationship is over, your ideal relationship between the police department and our community, how would you name your ideal relationship?
The police are respectful of the citizens and that we can trust them.
Okay, so you'd like a trusting and respectful relationship?
Yes, I
Okay.
would.
Excellent, thank you for that, Barbara. Greg, how about you?
I have about 500 encounters with APD.
Okay,
First one probably was 2003.
okay,
And I can say that it's no relationship so far between APD and community,
okay,
because they acting like they are some kind of kings. Shut up, shut your F mouth. I was told many times, shut your F mouth.
all right,
And you know what? If we have to talk about relationship, we have names. I have a long list of names of APD officers who doesn't belong with that.
okay, all right. So, your thoughts sound somewhat similar to Barbara's. If these people aren't serving the way we need them to serve, they need to go away. So, got that, and we've got Barbara's. Now, let's say that's over there. Now, over here is your ideal relationship. How would you define your ideal relationship? What would be the words that you would use?
Because see, they are in uniform, they are armed, they have all equipment on them, and that giving them power. That's psychological, okay? And they are in power, because without them, that's gonna be total criminal jungle. We need them, we need police.
Okay.
But we need them more friendly.
More
We
friendly.
need them more friendly.
Friendly, thank you.
We need them, if they do something wrong, they are brave enough to say, I'm sorry. And don't do it again.
Okay, all right,
That's it.
okay. All right, so friendly and owning up to their mistakes. Excellent, thank you for that. And really, we're going around the circle, so I need for everybody to wait until your opportunity. But we will get to you, I promise.
Well,
Okay.
somebody has to start and motivate it.
All right, so we'll hear from you in
Yeah,
just a
why
minute.
don't we-
Tad, okay, hang on, I'm gonna go around and I'll get to you in a minute. Bear with me. Okay. The challenge is that we need each person to have a turn.
Okay.
But I appreciate your hospitality, Herb, and I'd like to hear from you now. What's your goal relationship for relations between the police and our community?
I would like for, I guess it's the police department, but it directly stems back to central government, citizen government. It's just this. My knowledge, my education has taught me that in the beginning of all constitutions, civil settings, it's always noted that you're not there to deny the citizenship anything.
Okay.
So that's the position that the police department and the city have taken. And it's already been decided that that's wrong. So now it's just implementing the proper procedures to take care of it. And it really goes back to just one, I can start it and end it really with one thing. In 1963, a gentleman by the name of Miranda settled really the whole issue. And that is quite basically being advised of your rights when incidences come about between the police and the citizenship.
Okay.
We know that that's just been taken away. So, getting back to just civil policing and doing what they should do.
Okay.
That's my problem with
All right. So if I understand you correctly, that the government needs to respond to the needs of the citizens, is that right?
Yes.
And that, that the Miranda rights need to be spoken and honored, right? And that the relationship is one where the police department and the city government are doing right by the people. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And would you have a name for that kind of relationship that you just envisioned for us? What would be the name? Would it be collaborative? Would it be mutually respectful? Would you have any other name that you'd want to put, or just that description?
Government without malice.
Government without malice. Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that, Herb. Appreciate that. You up with us, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just want to check in, he with the flying fingers. Stephanie? Yes, Stephanie. What are your thoughts on the goal for these expectations for community relations?
Well, I think for whatever reason, and there are multiple reasons why this has happened, is that over time, we've changed from the friendly policeman on the corner that we read about in Dick and Jane, I'm sure some of you are old enough to remember Dick and Jane, to a real us versus them mentality. And I see this arising in the police department, where they're grouping everybody else, whether they're part of the Salvatrucha, the big gang that comes from Central America, and my nephew who's schizophrenic, and they see them the same, and they don't make any distinction, it seems to me. Now, they may be, but this is the perception that we're getting, is that they see everybody out there that isn't police as possibly a felon, possibly armed and dangerous, possibly somebody that they've got to watch out for, possibly somebody they shouldn't be friendly with or communicate with. Or just, it's easier for them to just insulate themselves in this cocoon of the police, the law enforcement. And I know that a lot of the police have been recruited out of the military. And you sent them over there to kill people in villages in Iraq, for instance. And they come back over there and expecting them to shift gears and say, everybody out there isn't trying to kill you. I would like to see change in that relationship, to have them look at us as individuals. And I'm saying us because I have never in my life been afraid of the police or afraid to call the police until this last year, or to call the police for my nephew. And now I would really seriously think twice before I would do it.
All right, so, so there's this sense that you're getting of this separatism, this us versus them piece, and a sense that people are being categorized in negative ways.
And not just the police looking at us, it's us looking at the police.
Okay, so you see this two ways.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so both the citizens have developed this us versus them, and the police have developed this us versus them. And so if you were to take that and wave that magic wand and make it the exact opposite, which sounds like what you want, would you have a name for that?
It would have to be something like, not a one-word name. It'd have to be recognition of individuals.
Recognition of individuals, okay. And I'm also, when I hear us versus them, I see the opposite as being collaborative. And I'm wondering, is that an adjective that you would use?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right, good, okay.
Yeah.
Does that complete your thought?
For now.
Okay, thank you, Stephanie, I appreciate that. And Robert, how about you? What would your ideal goal and expectations for relationship to be?
Honestly, just to see them do their job right. I understand their grounds and when they need to defend themselves, and I understand when that is necessary, but they also need the training, and I understand they're getting the training too now. But ideally what I would like to see them is more as kind of how your what do you call them, your social workers are, where they're caring, compassionate, going out and trying to take care of people. That's how our police need to be. They need to be going out and serving the people and looking at people, oh, this person needs help, when they have, and you know, if you follow, I don't know if any of you do follow APD's Facebook, there's a lot of good stories that are coming out from the community where they're doing things that aren't way out of their spec, things that you would probably get mad and complain about wasting their tax dollars on. So I hear people complain about the things that they do and that they don't do. But the thing is, a lot of people don't step into the shoes of APD and understand where they're coming from. So the most effective thing I think we could do is community-based policing. If you're going to call the cops out, call the cops out. But understand what their job is to do. And so if you're fearful of them, what relationship do you have with your local substation then if you don't even know your cops? You're going to call the cops out and you don't even know them, really? That's not really smart to me. So if we're going to make something happen and get friendly with the police, go have coffee with the cops on Wednesday at Wex. Get to know those police. Go out there and actually talk to them, and before they actually come to your house when you need them, and then we could actually have some difference in the relationship. I go out and talk to cops all the time when they're parked on the side of the road. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if they're in the middle of a report or whatever. I'm going to go say hello to them because they work for us. So if we're going to have them be effective and you're scared of them, change the way that they think of us. But ideally, servant-based policing.
Servant-based policing.
It's the best way to put it.
Thank you, and that's a very similar tone, and it builds very much, I think, on what you were saying. Is that right, Stephanie?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, it's very similar, yes. Thank you for that. And one thing I wanted to note too, and I'm guessing Ray captured it, but when I summarized you, I did not summarize the piece where you talked about the militaristic consciousness that is brought from the people who served as soldiers and now are in police, and how that needs to be shifted out,
Yeah.
right?
Can I
and,
say
and the
something
less,
with that,
hang
though?
on one second,
Okay.
just let me finish. I'll let you finish if you let me finish.
Yeah.
So did I get that right?
Yeah.
And you captured that, right? Good, thank you. Robert, you had an
My
additional
complaint with
thought.
that is these people are going into countries that it's not the same as here. We have a Second Amendment where we can carry arms that are well beyond what the police can carry. So if we're going to start complaining about that kind of thing, all we have to do is really, really debrief them when they get back from war. Really put them through some psychological tests to make sure they are fit for duty and that they have the caring, compassionate. I never want to kill a person again. If they have that mentality and come back as cops, that might be a whole lot different. But how do they get evaluated? Most of it sounds like they're just getting shoot in, because I talk to cops, like I said, I also talk to the civilians. Both ways, we do need, and I think that's what's right with this, is we're getting the reform done.
And that's actually the answer to question 3 or 4, but Ray will get it in the right place. But you're saying, if they're gonna come from military to police, let's deprogram them, let's evaluate them, let's make sure that they are not in a warrior mentality.
Right. I mean, and it's not, and it's hard to say that with the civilians here. Look what we're teaching our kids. Look at the culture of violence that we're showing them. Cops are bad, gotta shoot them, gotta go rob a bank, Grand Theft Auto. That mentality is being placed upon our kids just the same that it's happening with the police. We gotta be afraid of the community. So if we change, like, look at the FCC. Look at what they show on TV nowadays. Can we blame our cops for being afraid? So
it's about humanity, it's about humanizing
the
one
compassion,
another.
like you said earlier, that first gentleman's compassion.
And recognizing our officers as citizens and
They're
human beings,
us.
just like the rest
If
of us.
I were to go
Thank
enlist
you.
right now to be a police officer, would you guys hate me the same? I'm not a cop now, but would you hate me the same?
Okay, thank you for that, Robert. Appreciate your input. And I can't see your name tag, but I will, are you
Oh, here
Alan?
it is down here, Alan.
Alan! See, I actually even remembered, okay. Alan, looking at question number 1 and 1A, what are your goals and expectations for police-community relations, and what makes that important to you, sir?
I want them to stop doing this.
Okay, and what he is showing us is, can you clarify for me what this represents, because I'm unclear?
That's me.
Okay,
Man, I'm
okay,
ex-military, and I was in a war. Okay? And when I came home from that war, they were throwing rocks at us at San Francisco International Airport, and they were spitting on us on the street, and they were degrading us. So I take exception to your statement about these guys coming back from overseas.
okay.
They're good men. They're real men. We need more of them. We don't need these civilians that they're hiring now, because they're the ones that have got the 6-bit badge pinned on a 2-bit body, and they're given a gun. And you need to give them this and have them read it about every 6 months. It's called the Constitution.
Okay.
Okay, I go by the same rules, they have to go by the rules. The reason that I got like this, police procedure says that you're not supposed to get within an arm's reach. Okay, this guy was so close to me, he was spitting all over me. He was doing a Mount St. Helens in front of my face. And all I did was put my arm up like this to get the legal distance that I deserve, away from me. It was over nothing, okay? And he did a Mount St. Helens. And this is what happened, all right? After he found out, because it happened out in front of my house, and my neighbor came across the street and said, hey man, this guy's a vet. All right, neither one of these guys have been in the military. Neither one of them. And yet they came up there with this bad dude attitude hey, we got the badge, you're gonna do what I tell you because I gave you a lawful order. Now the district attorney, according to the district attorney, she gives a lot of leeway to the police department as far as legalized murder is what it is. I was at the corner of Eubank and Constitution when they murdered that ex-GI. It went to trial. They got sued. Even the judge said that it was uncalled for. And yet, if it was a civilian, he'd be on trial right now for murder. You know what that guy's doing? He's still a cop, still got a badge, and we're still paying his wages.
Okay, so Alan, here's what I need from you, Alan. First of all, if you could direct the conversation to everybody so that,
Well,
okay?
I'm sticking up
Alan,
for...
I hear you.
Alan, I'd like to
And-
thank you for your service.
Thank you, Steph.
Okay, I have one question for you. It's a two-part. Are you registered?
To vote?
Yes.
Okay, Alan,
Do you?
I beg your pardon, sir. Alan?
Is it accepted?
Alan, we need to stay focused on the conversation here,
understand, but
okay?
when
So
people
here's what I
ask
want,
me-
here's what I
Okay.
want to ask from you. You just shared with us some very horrific experiences, and ones that you felt were terribly, terribly wrong.
Correct.
Correct. So, looking at the other side of the coin, if we could have it be the opposite of what you just experienced, how would you define that relationship that would be the opposite of what you just described to us? How would our
Firm, fair,
police
and
be?
consistent.
I'm sorry?
Firm,
Firm,
fair, and
fair,
consistent.
Consistent, and familiar with the Constitution, if I heard you correct.
They can't even spell it.
Okay, all right, well, there's Constitution Street, but anyway, okay, gotcha. So firm, fair, consistent, and knowledgeable of the Constitution.
This has got everything you need to do.
Excellent.
The only other book is the Bible.
Excellent.
Those two books right there will get you through life. You know,
Okay,
they've
good.
got me through it.
Excellent.
I used to be in law enforcement. I worked for the penitentiary. You know,
So
the
you've
prima
worn
donnas
many
of New
uniforms.
Mexico.
Right, so you've worn many uniforms. You speak from a lot of experience. I hear that.
Correct.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate your service and I appreciate your comments. Diane, oh, I beg your pardon. You had something more, Alan?
Are you registered?
Yes.
Vote.
And that's a digression, sir.
Okay,
And
well, I'm
that's as far as I'm
thanking you
gonna
for the
go.
56,800 and some odd guys that names are on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
They died because of the guy to the right of them and the left of them. But they were great. We were all fighting for this.
Yes, yes, sir, you're absolutely right, and we all honor that. Thank you, sir. Diane, in answer to this question, in terms of your goal relationship between Albuquerque Police Department and community, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll sum it up with J-Trill for simplification for you. First, we'll start with justice, and that is that they are truthful in their investigations and that they follow the SOPs and their documentation is accurate.
Okay, got all that right?
Most of it.
Okay.
I have it written down here so I can give this to you, but you might not be able to read my writing. Trust, be truthful in your words and your actions. This can apply to all government employees, by the way.
Okay.
Respect others and know when assistance is needed. And what I mean by that is because the police are, especially in this city and state, because of the poverty and the lack of funding on things, they're a safety net and everything kind of falls down to them and then they end up having to do the crisis management situation. So I think that there needs to be a support system, which I think they're working on, to make sure that when they get to a certain point on something that is maybe more behavioral in nature, that they can contact the respective people, that the psychologist or whatever that can come in and try to manage that situation rather than try to solve it by force and aggression.
Okay.
Integrity, again, integrity in filing the reports and in investigations when they're on the stand. I think we need to have that. And I guess, I lost confidence in trusting police after seeing Mark Furman on the stand with the O.J. Simpson trial. So we're talking, back before that, I always used to think police were good people, and then I saw that and did a lot of damage, I think, to the public about realizing that police are trained liars in essence, and we need to stop training them to lie and just to tell the truth, regardless of what that truth is. I know it sometimes helps to get the bad guy, but it's still not the right thing to do. I mean, we all could make those kind of compromises on our integrity so that we could succeed in doing what we knew was ultimately right, but that's not the way to do things. So that's something I would like to address with that. And then leadership, that they should lead by example, and that they should lead in a way that the kind of behavior that they would want their children to see, how they would want their children to be as adults, and how they would want the police to treat their children if they also live in that situation. Okay. Do you want me to go on?
You have more?
To summarize,
Yes.
Because I know you're always asking for summary. Just like similar to what Mr. Allen said, do unto others as you would want done to you. And I know that's a general statement that's difficult because police are in the most difficult situations that most of us have to encounter on a regular basis. They see the belly of any city, and so it's difficult to do that. But and to tell the truth and do what is right. Doing what is right is 90% of the time black and white. There are times when there's gray areas, but most of the time doing what is right is pretty well known, and if you're not doing something right, you know it if you have a conscience.
So there's that integrity again.
There's the integrity, and so,
Okay.
and ultimately, what I would like to see, because I'm an idealist,
So are you getting to solution consciousness right now?
I might be.
Because if you wouldn't mind holding that, especially
I'll
since
hold
you have it written down, we're gonna be
Okay.
coming to that
Okay.
after pizza.
Okay, good, I'll
Okay?
hold that.
Hold that thought, thank you for that. And that was very articulate, and I see that you put a lot of thought into your words, and I'm not gonna summarize it, because you did a great job of summarizing yourself. Thank you, Diane. Larissa, what are your thoughts in terms of answers to the question of your goals and expectations between APD and community in our relations?
First of all, I'd like to explain my experience a bit
Okay.
and my credibility. In Chicago, my ex-husband and I owned a homeless men's shelter for 12 years and a psychiatric residential facility during the same time.
Tough work.
So we have a tremendous amount of experience in interacting with police and unpleasant situations, including deaths.
Including deaths?
Deaths,
Okay.
many people died
Thank you.
at both places. So I am familiar with a police organization that has been infamous in our country even, long before Albuquerque. However, in 1982, the federal government came and cleaned it all up. Scared the hell out of a lot of people in Chicago, and that was called Operation Greylord.
Grey Lord?
Correct.
Okay.
Operation Greylord. And it was a
Under the
huge, huge FBI sting that prosecuted 70 people, judges, prosecutors, lawyers, and many police. And that corrected a lot of problems. They didn't just come in and say, stop using excessive force. They put them in jail. That's what I've been going for. Because 5 years ago, my UNM engineering student son was murdered by APD snitches, with APD not far away. And they spent 2 years preventing me from getting information and the police reports. They blacked it out on the media. And for the last 5 years, I've been dealing with getting the feds involved. So my ideal is to disrupt, disband APD, because they are a gang.
So.
That's all I have to say right now. Thank you.
Thank you. May I ask a question, or you don't want to?
I'm not sure.
Okay. The question that I have is, if your ideal were to happen and we were to disband the APD gang, as you call them, then what would, not necessarily the structure, but going back to relationship, whatever would happen in terms of law enforcement after that time, what would the relationship ideally be between our community and that new entity that would be created after the disbanding that you wish for?
There's a basic unsolvable problem. Albuquerque is located at a fatal intersection. It has fatal geography, I-40 and I-25, and the whole area and economy is based on the drug trade and the gang trade. And the feds are fully aware of this. And therefore, it is so profound and entrenched, I don't see an ideal fairy tale Easter egg solution to this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There is some profound changes that need to be made on the war for drugs,
Yes.
not the war on drugs.
Okay.
And the bottom line of everything is money. Always follow the money. Okay?
So you
And
don't
there
have
is a
that
serious
vision.
problem here.
Okay, thank you. And I appreciate your accepting my second question. Thank you, sir. And thank you, ma'am. And sir, you have been patient. And what is your ideal relationship between APD and our community? Your goal and expectations for what that relationship would look like?
Well, let me start from, we are a community. All here, we are all are affected. Are those police officers, and how many police officers are right here? How many city government officials are here? Well, they simply do not give a damn about victims of police brutality, shooting, police brutality, and killing, and etc., etc. Well, let me tell you, they got themselves during last 10 years where they are right now. They have to figure out how to get out. Well, here it began, 106 pages. That is beginning. That's not everything. That was historic history made this week. City Council, who supposed to represent citizens of Albuquerque, communities, they did fine. How they got there? Well, let me tell you. There was 2 people mentioned about credit, to give credit. And then I did say, I corrected simply, give it credit where credit belongs. To who done that? Give it this credit for those people marching, protesting,
Jewel Hall.
through the, yes, shut down city council, then that was a wake up.
Okay.
Well, okay, so we have to look at now. That is start. Well, now we are community, we have been affected one way or another. Those people other side of the screen, which is no one watching us here, this group, they they should get involved there. Like these 300 people marching, protesting, etc., etc. Going to city council meeting, small groups, even 12, what can you believe it, that 12 protested, shut down, screw up. Mayor, grand opening of brand new civic center, they had set up a podium outside across from the civic center on the plaza, whatever you call them, which plaza, and 10 minutes before, mayor decided no. Order take a podium down, and they had ribbon cutting inside the city center. How do you think, how does it feel for those other people, privately? Everything, no, this is process, nothing process. It's all privately done. Well, I got a whole list right here.
That goal relationship that we're looking for, how would you define your goal relationship, Tad? If all this were better, what would it look like?
Let's start from, they have to change their culture.
Change the culture of the
That's
police
number
department.
one.
Okay.
Stop militarizing. Another thing.
Radley Valley.
And we can go on and on. I don't have, okay, constitutional policy.
I'm sorry, say that again, sir.
Constitutional
policy.
policing.
Okay, policing, okay, got it.
And community type policing, which is that's already right here.
Community type
And
policing, okay.
now, neighborhood, I have big question. Neighborhood snitching, residents snitching, because you know how many members in the most neighborhood comes to the meeting? About 5. That's right. Thank you. That is many. And what they doing? Here comes commando. I'm talking about Trumbo Village neighborhood. President and President Michael Keaton, now in Rio Rancho, police department, Rio Rancho, he left just recently, before when all this thing got to, after this report from Department of Justice. He said, forget it, I'm gone. He went to Rio Rancho. He used to come all the time.
Okay, so back to the goal relationship, how does that all apply?
Relationship, well, that is such funny relationship,
Okay,
what I'm saying.
okay,
When 5 community members are present, and who are these 5? Husband and wife. President and also husband is chairman. And son is, I don't remember what his position, and mother, and mother-in-law, of course, same time.
and how does that, to the police department, how does that situation you're describing relate to the police department?
Because has to be, if you come to neighborhood meeting
Right,
and community neighborhood meeting,
yes,
well, here is little bit outline right here. That's what I'm talking.
so the police should be, I'm sorry, I'm just not tracking, so are you saying the police should be coming to the neighborhood meetings?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, so police should
And
participate in
reported
neighborhood
on the
meetings.
quarterly basis,
Gotcha.
that's what says right here.
Gotcha now,
And a monthly basis reported.
Okay.
So that and a lot more. Try to get this, you can go to city council meeting and you can get 100. They normally charge me 50 cents a copy, 106 pages.
If you have a
No, they
smartphone, you
didn't
can
charge me
download it to
this
your
time.
smartphone.
Well, okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
so you got that. So in terms of just, because we need to get on to question number 2 in just 1 minute. So in the last minute that we have for question 1, is there anything else that you would like to say in terms of what your goal would be for how our relationship would be between community and police?
I'm sorry? How long?
How would the goal, if you could say
Like Mayberry.
the ideal, okay, so the ideal relationship between police and citizens,
Mhm.
what word would you use for that? Larissa said Mayberry, but
Community policing. That's-
community policing, okay,
Community
great,
policing.
excellent,
That's-
okay. And we
I
heard that
would like
also
to
from
say.
Robert and others,
Yeah.
excellent,
Then
all right, good.
Constitutional policing.
Constitutional policing, great, got
They
that
have
too.
to police
Oh,
on
that
that.
ship has sunk, honey.
I'm sorry?
Okay,
So
All right.
anyway,
okay,
and here is a lot more.
okay, but I've got time for one more
You-
thought, because we've got to go to
You
question 2.
have to, because you have to look at that, not only APD,
Okay,
but also security,
okay,
harassing people,
DA.
going to city hall,
okay,
you to frequent visitors and all different harassment. They don't want you in city hall because it's too often, etc., etc. So the security and everyone carry badge.
okay,
And then we have to change the mentality of mayor, chief executive officer,
okay,
administrator, Barry, and go to every director and look at where, how, and how our money, tax money being spent.
okay, good, so that's.
Where this money go for mental, you know how much? Well, yes, 47 mental. This evaluation.
So there has to be oversight of all of that, okay.
Not only oversight, but we have to look at who is what member of oversight.
Okay, gotcha.
Communities,
Okay, got it.
not stakeholders.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so, and I don't mean to cut you short, but we have 30 minutes to do question number 2, and then we get our pizza, and then we get to move on to how will we accomplish what you all have just been laying out for us. So I want you to look at number 2, question number 2, which is in terms of the interactions between police officers and our community members, what would those interactions be like? Now, there have been several of you in answering the relationship question that talked about some of that already. But I want to just go around and see if there's any other thoughts. So when one encounters a police officer, whether it's stopping to say hi when you see their car parked on the side of the road, or an officer feels that you have committed some crime, or they pull you over on the street, or whatever it is, in any context, when you are face-to-face with an officer, or they are face-to-face with another citizen, how do you want the interaction, the talking, the treatment to be? And I'm going to go around this way, because I already got you, Dad.
Thanks a lot.
You know all you got a
Maybe
chance.
other way around. the same.
All right, I'll go the other way around, but you get 3 minutes because we gotta get everybody.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
go for it.
That's more than city council give me.
Yeah, well, see, there you go.
That
I should
is
be
true.
facilitating city council then, shouldn't I? Yeah.
Actually, you should.
Thank you. Okay, so Ted, you got your 3 minutes, go.
What is the question?
Listen, how would they talk to us? How would they treat us? If a police officer, how do you want a police officer to treat you? He's pulled you over, what do you want him to treat you like?
Well, you know,
Or she?
let me tell you, I have no problem with cops for a long time. In fact, way back on the 60s, 70s, and 80s, first part of the 80s, I had no problem, you know. But the last couple of years, when I started to be involved with all kind of meetings, communities with not only council, but city, county commissioners, etc., look into the records, contracts. So anyway,
How would they treat you?
how they
How
treat
do you
me,
want a police officer to treat you
I can-
when he comes up and he pulls you over on the street for whatever reason? How do you want him to talk to you?
not to, I expect to respect and same time not to be afraid any officer. People are scared.
All right.
That is bigger problem. Yes, I do. When I get my cuffs on me, put on, just because I'm claustrophobic, I feel tied up, my high blood pressure goes up, and etc. If that's not enough, I have incident right here, and that is CIT. What can you? CIT cost unit. Well, that's how they operate. They are liars too. Anyway, speaking of being handcuffed,
So you want to,
that we not to think we shouldn't be afraid of cops any longer, but it's still when we have some condition, especially, yes, I am older and right here, it sounds like I am exempt. But anyway, when I observe 3 to 4 person, when police officer order from the car, go to the sidewalk, handcuff, and then one by one. Well, and then next thing, about 45 minutes to 1 hour, let them go.
okay.
So I don't think so that is appropriate.
Okay.
I don't think so that is right.
Okay,
How
so-
would you feel older if you and wife and your friends, you know, just because something and the cop order and put you right on the street, a public street.
Okay, so Tad, your 3 minutes are up, but I want to make sure we got the key points, and the key points were that you want to be treated with respect.
Absolutely, that's
You want
number
to be
one.
treated in a way that does not make you afraid. And you do not want to be handcuffed unnecessarily. You want respect for your safety and your well-being, and the fact that they escalate you.
Especially when you say no, the escalation,
Uh-huh. To
de-escalation.
de-escalation. Okay. That's what you
We
mean.
should expect them to de-escalate instead to agitate and compromise you to be verbal or physical to them.
Okay, gotcha.
So then you get arrested.
Okay.
I was handcuffed.
Okay, Tad, I'm
But-
sorry, but all these other people still need to share before we get our pizza.
Just because I
So-
spoke loudly.
It's all right.
That's why I was,
You are a passionate man about this topic, there's no doubt about that in my mind. Okay, Larissa, when you think about those interactions directly with our police officers, what would you want that to be like for you? Or for
Well,
anybody?
I hope not to ever have one.
So let's say for anybody.
I would like it not to be like the UNM student whose ball was kicked out by the police officer that pulled him over.
Okay.
That would be a start.
Okay,
I
so
would
no
like
physical
whoever
assault.
those police that behave that way be properly prosecuted.
Okay.
And that has not happened at all. And any level. And number 2, I would like respect and no SWAT teams.
Okay.
Bradley Balco gave a very educational discussion, well, talk and discussion. It was on New Mexico Focus last night and at the center Thursday night. And he emphasized the incredible increase in SWAT handling of unnecessarily non-violent situations, that the SWAT created violence and death. So I would say no SWAT teams unless it's a serious emergency.
Okay.
So those two things. Don't kick people in the balls when you pull them over, and stop with the SWAT.
All right, thank you, that was very concise and helpful, thank you, Larissa. Diane, how about you, what's your imagining for that ideal interaction between the community and our police officers?
I think I kind of already answered that, but I would like to take a couple of minutes to say some things. I think Larissa nailed one of the bigger issues, the root of the problem, because the police, sometimes their hands are tied, and even though they try to do their job, there is not justice. In the sense that there's corruption, like she had talked about. Chicago is well known, but really the drug trade, I think, is dominant in this economy, and there's a lot of issues that are related to not being able to trust the justice system to do their job properly, and I think there's cover-up that's involved, and I think we need to recognize that and deal with that. Otherwise, we're only patching and band-aiding a system. Otherwise they're gonna keep having the same, the police are gonna have the same issues with the same people, and it corrupts our society, it corrupts our children. We need to address the bigger issue, which is the root of the problems, and they're actually, in a sense, just victims themselves of having to deal with a corrupted system. And so we need to not forget that problem needs to be addressed.
Okay. And just for clarification, make sure in the notes, when you say that system, can you label is it the judicial system that you're referring to?
It's our leadership, it's the executive, you can talk about the executive branch within the city and the state. It's the police.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's the judicial system, which there's issues with that, and there's an underground drug trade, which is maybe a lot more than some people realize. How much of it goes on, and we need to be able to address those situations.
Okay, big picture, systemic.
Exactly. Just like she said, and the way it was addressed, and my point is, in bringing that up, is it's not insurmountable. She said it happened. We all know Serpico back in the 1970s.
And he's still alive
in New York, and there's a Chicago issue they did address the issue, and now we've got it here. We
and they
do
do it all over
here
the country.
Too. That's
right.
Thank
They
you.
do, actually.
Thank you, and I know that Ray's flying fingers have captured that. You ready for us to move on, Ray? Okay, thank you for that. Alan, the ideal reaction between an officer and a citizen in your mind would look like what?
It would look like that, in fact, I can personally attest to it, not only on myself, but the people. These cops, they're not police officers, they're cops. There's a difference between a police officer and a cop. You got 1% of this, I call it ABQ department, but anyway, the Albuquerque Police Department. You got 1% of them that are professional. The rest of them ain't nothing but a bunch of hot dogging cops. And all they do is they bring this upon themselves. They come up there with this bad dude attitude that you owe them a favor. And you're going to apologize to them, even though you haven't done anything wrong, or you're going to go to jail. And if you haven't incited anything, by the time they get done insulting you and pulling your chains, the next thing you know, you're just like this gentleman over here. You're sitting on the sidewalk, handcuffed on the wall, because of the fact that you stood up for your constitutional rights. They don't like that. They figure because of that 6-bit badge that they demand respect. No, I'm a native New Mexican, and that's not the way it is around here. What happens is you earn respect. You don't demand it, because you ain't gonna get it from me. Now, there's some police officers, in fact, I've got one that lives next door to me. He's lived there for 15 years. The first 10 minutes, when him and his wife bought that house and moved in there, I was this far in front of his face, telling him, hey man, I don't want you parking your police car in front of my house. Well, it's a free country, it's a public street, I'll park where I want. Okay, man. You wanna go to war? Let's go to war. So I did. And by the time the whole thing was over with, I finally found out, went to the chief of police, I actually wrote a letter thanking the chief of police, for taking care of the situation. Okay.
All right, so the
6
reactions that
police
were-
cars later, I made my point.
Okay.
All right, now he's a captain in the Albuquerque Police Department. He's also in the military. He's also an officer, which I got no use for, but that's beside the point. He's a good police officer now. He's a good law enforcement officer. He himself will tell you, or he won't, because of the thin blue line, you need to get rid of it.
Okay, so.
What happens when these guys try to do the right thing? They get ostracized.
You betcha.
And if you want a good example of it, take the Bob Alonso case over on the west side.
Okay, but going back to the ideal interaction between, you've mentioned several less than ideal interactions, shall we say, that you've experienced. So, but in terms of if it would have been ideal, what would be an ideal interaction between yourself and an officer or any other citizen and an officer? How would they treat you? It sounds like respect was part of what you alluded
Yeah.
to. What else?
That is it.
Okay, respectful.
Respect is everything.
Okay,
They want respect, I want respect. I got no problem with giving respect. I was raised like that. But the fact of the matter is to have some guy come up there and look over his Tom Cruise, top 10 or whatever it was,
Gotcha.
movie, yeah.
Yeah, we got to those glasses.
Right, those glasses,
Right.
and with this, I'm the baddest dude on the block. No,
Okay, so
that ain't gonna
respect
cut it
is,
with me, man.
respect is what you need.
Right.
Excellent, thank you for that, Alan. And Robert?
Respect, you have to earn that.
Okay.
Don't, you
All right.
can't buy it respect.
So,
Okay,
and they would get
got that.
respect if they were more, loving. If we had loving interactions where they were treating you like a brother, like a sister, like somebody, like another neighbor. If he
Or a
treated you
citizen,
loving,
right.
your
Okay.
neighbor being
Right.
like that's not very loving, in my opinion.
Okay.
Love is patient, love is kind. If they had those first two things on their mind when they were approaching citizens, it'd
Okay,
be cake.
excuse me.
It'd be cake. We wouldn't have these issues. They wouldn't escalate it like you were saying. When they pull you out of the car, they're not. We hire them. A cop is a civil ordinance patrol. We hire them to do a job. We make stupid laws like pot is illegal, stupid laws, and we have them enforce these laws. So what do? They go and pull you over for going 10 over, and then they go and look in your car at what's immediately available. Oh, look, there's a gun in the car. He's dangerous. Let's call backup. Or they see something else.
Yeah, now we got a
So,
SWAT situation.
hang
The
on.
ideal situation when you're doing something wrong and you know you are, they come up to you lovingly and say, "Hey, you messed up. Now fess up to what you've done, and you're gonna have to deal with
Andy
it."
and Megan.
Right? But the only problem I see though is when our citizens aren't like that. We have animosity. Like you said, we're born and raised in New Mexico. We're not very loving people. So
Yeah.
if we train them and they let the example of that, ideally they would lead the example on behalf of the government, and we could actually change it. So loving interactions is what I would say.
Thank you for that. And the question is a two-way question, and I heard both a two-way answer from you. You're talking about peaceful, kind, and loving from the officers toward the citizens, and from the citizens toward the officers.
Just the same. I mean, it's community. We're
Two-way.
community. If I have a problem with my
Be
neighbor,
careful.
I'm gonna call the police when it gets to the point that I can't handle it anymore. If he comes and threatens me, I love my Second Amendment, and I'm gonna use it when he comes into my house. But if it gets to a point where I see my neighbor, who I know the widow can't defend herself, and I'm gonna call the cops, hey, go get to her house, my neighbor's something going on. That's where we need to get to. But people don't even know their neighbors anymore. So that's kind of one thing that, be loving. It has to go just for everyone, not just the cops.
Thank you for that. Wouldn't that be an ideal world? Thank you for that.
Ideally.
Stephanie, how about for you? What would be that ideal interaction, either direction, between police officers and our community?
I'm just fascinated listening to all the other responses. I think everybody has such good things to say. It's really interesting.
It's a rich conversation, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes,
it
it
really
is.
is. What I'd like to see, personally, I probably will never run into a problem with the police. I'm a white, middle-aged girl, I drive a Beamer, they're not gonna stop me for anything. If they stop me, I'll be polite, I'll, deal with it. What I'm worried about is how they're getting people that are not like me.
Okay.
And they're going way overboard with their response because they don't know these people. And they're getting hysterical calls by whoever. You know, there's a difference between having, like happened, 2 guys bust into the Denny's and start shooting up the place. You want one certain response to that, to a homeless guy up in the mountains with 2 pocket knives.
41 cops.
And why can't you just outwait him for 2 days if that's what it takes? I think there's a reward system.
Right.
And I'm sure the police would say to us, you have no idea what I encounter every day. You have no idea what I'm going to do. You have no idea you've never been there. Which is true. But they also have the support system from the other police who say they can't understand you. They can't understand what we're doing. They expect all this stuff from us. They can't understand what we go through. If there were, like you were saying, more communication, if you could call the substation and say, Mrs. Jones is being attacked, can you send Bob out, Officer Bob, to come and deal with it? Instead of something terrible is happening, you know, the police don't know us. I think they don't want to know us. I think there's an attitude of if you know them, then they become people and you have to deal with them differently than if they're just faceless citizens that you are expected to respond A, B, or C with, A, B, or C. Now, a whole different issue is the fact that if A is the people busting into Denny's and B is the homeless guy up in the hills, and C is my nephew who is just, you know, convinced the garbage disposal is trying to kill him, and you have to call the police so he doesn't stick his hand down the garbage disposal. Where do they send him? Why are the police showing up? Why is there no place to send him? And so the recent election that showed 67% of the citizens are willing to raise taxes to try to provide more resources for these people so you know where you can send them.
So what I heard from you is response proportion to the incident, right? And not just in proportion, but sending out the right team of people to deal with the situation as it is. And also a sense of, I don't know if this is the right word for you, but what I hear is a sense of humanity, of human connection, so that the officers see the citizens as just plain old human beings, and I'm guessing probably the reverse too, that we would see our officers.
More interaction.
Right, more interaction, person to
In a
person.
non-threatening time.
Non-threatening, friendly times.
And I just have to throw this out too, is that we've got to get over as a state the idea that we're so poor that we can just let people come in and steal our stuff and walk all over us and not say no, because who knows when you're going to ever get another chance like this. You better sell out right now because you're poor. You're poor and you can't do anything. And that's such a lie. And we've been fed that by everybody from the top of government straight on down, and we believe it.
I can
And we
attest to that
act
growing
on it.
up here. Even the schools taught us that.
I know.
And so
Like, don't rock the boat. You're gonna upset people, and then they're gonna take their meager pieces away from us.
And that's,
because we have
that is
nothing.
a big systemic problem, and
It's a horrible
but right now
problem.
it is. And right now we have to stay focused on the police relations.
Sorry.
But thank you for sharing that thought with us, Stephanie. Herb, thank you for your patience. What are your thoughts in terms, Herb, of interaction between our officers and our citizens? What should those interactions look like or be like?
There should be none.
Can you
There
elaborate a
should
little
be
bit?
none. There
Okay.
just should, I feel, there should be no interaction with the police and the police department. The reason why is because they refuse to follow the rules.
Okay.
See, you know, and I was saying, I want to save it for 3 and 4, but just a piece.
Okay, give us a little taste, Herb.
We've had 2 head judges of District 2, basically prosecuted for criminal acts. Legally, constitutionally, That means that every case that they have ever sat on shall be reviewed.
Oh, yes, I remember reading about that, yes.
Okay?
Breathtaking, isn't it?
So, you see, what I mean is, okay, no interaction with the police. Why? Because basically it just amounts to, I want to hear what you got to say so I can use it against you. See, and it goes right down to the home, you know, to your interactions with your child who may be disabled. It is proven over and over again, when you let them know, when you call them for assistance, it somehow winds up that somehow your problem is the problem, or your sick child is a criminal for being a sick child. See,
Okay.
so that's, you know, that's it.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right, thank you
Okay.
for that, Herb.
Next.
Thank you. And Greg, how about for you? What-
Sorry that we don't have enough time because I have a 40 years experience with this.
And in 3 minutes, what would be your
Yeah,
ideal? Not
I was
this
policeman myself.
or- Not, oh, okay.
My brother was policeman, chief of police, and they killed him.
And I'm sorry, you said they killed
They
him?
killed him, yes,
Okay.
police.
I'm sorry.
Interaction with police, as I told you, I had about 500 encounters here in Albuquerque.
Okay.
I called for help by myself in my private and in business about 150 times. They didn't help me. I was 3 times brutally handcuffed. I was in jail for nothing, just for asking them to do their job and for their names. And how I can interact now, I told Chief Schultz, one more time your crooks put handcuffs on me, I'm going to kill them. I know how, I'm a military man. I have a training by KGB. I know how. I've been trying to kiss them, to hug them, and they kicked me. I spent lots of years. I studied security and police sciences. Here is diploma.
Okay.
I study criminal justice. Here is diploma. Doesn't help. We don't have a police here. They are trigger happy ego maniacs.
Gang.
I have a friends in uniforms here in Albuquerque.
I know.
They told me, Greg,
I live here.
don't even dream about this. I complained 3 times to POC. And what they found is preponderance of evidence. POC, the old one, was corrupted by J. Sigara, a union boss. Corrupted. I complained to Mayor Chavez, to Mayor Berry, doesn't work. Then what the heck now I have to do with this? I'm afraid.
So lots of.
I'm afraid
Okay.
to stand face to face with him.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
I'm not afraid of him as a policeman.
Uh-huh.
I'm afraid of myself,
Okay.
that I can finally break.
Okay.
And I have the power.
I'm sorry, I can't hear him. Please, if you need to talk to each other, if you can go out of the room,
Then-
it'll be helpful.
Conclusion,
Okay?
they are public servants.
All right.
That's true?
Okay.
They are public servants.
Uh-huh.
And from beginning of my encounter with him or her, they showing me, I'm the boss here, you shut up.
Okay, so that tells me that that really didn't work for you.
Yes.
What would work for you? How should they have addressed you in the
You know,
moment?
if we, for example, ask, how are you, Charlie? Because they have a name tag sometimes. How are you? Oh, my name is Greg. I call them. I call you. Don't put handcuffs on me. I call you to help me.
Okay, so
That's right.
Then be my brother.
Thank you.
Do everything that I can say, I love you, Baba.
Okay.
See?
Gotcha.
That's the problem. It's no love between us. It's hate. And it's danger, like Robert said. Lots of people have guns here. And lots of people have enough. I have enough.
Okay.
I have enough. More deep I'm in this, I'm like volcano sleeping.
Okay.
Then make them to be nice. Because I told them it's nice to be important, and you are.
Good.
But it's
Okay.
more important to be nice, and you are not.
Thank you for that. Nice, friendly,
Yeah,
loving.
yeah.
Thank you for that, Greg.
And we
Okay.
pay their salary.
Yeah,
That's right.
Public servant.
That's right, what they are. All right, so thank you for that, Greg. And before we get our pizza, we're going to hear from Barbara. And Barbara, please tell us what your thoughts are. You've been very patient listening to everyone else. What are your thoughts on those ideal
The
elections?
independent review officer never finds a problem. These people have always followed the procedures. They are never disciplined. These people, the IRO, I read just, I don't know, yesterday somewhere, probably online, has had hundreds of complaints from citizens. The majority of the complaints are that the officers are rude.
Okay.
We do not have any fealty to people who use their authority improperly, which is what this rudeness is all about. They have so much power that if you stand up for yourself and say no, they can charge you with assaulting an officer because you have dared to challenge their authority. These people have so much authority, they don't have to listen, and they can instantly cut you off by doing exactly what he says, put you in handcuffs and arrest you for anything. I was driving on Lomas about 2 months ago, maybe 3. It was about 6:30 in the evening. The police had the entire westbound lines of Lomas closed off from Broadway past the railroad tracks. They were letting one line of traffic through because they had to do something. There were probably 8 police cars. They had one guy. He had no jacket, no backpack. He was sitting on the curb. There was an officer standing in the median pointing an AR-15 at him. He was gesticulating. He was upset about something. And they freaking pointed a rifle, an AR-15, a product of war, which had been massively distributed to our police force here. 350 of these guns. Through the 1033 program or some other way. Because these officers were told they can't carry their own AR-15 anymore. So instead of taking them off the street, we officially have now given them to them. This level of authoritarian response to citizens who are upset is outrageous. And there is nothing she will do to stop it. She will find them following procedures. I'm not trying to attack her. I'm simply stating a fact. There is nothing that is ever done to change the behavior of these people.
All right.
And that is what I want. I want no more of this automatic authoritarian response to any citizen who stands up for, I know my rights.
So now,
Get on your knees. Get down, 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 down.
So
until you're laying on the sidewalk, no weapon, nothing, and you have a dozen people standing over you with a gun.
okay.
It is outrageous and it's gotta stop.
All right, so I hear very clearly.
Because we have a
Excuse
plastic
me,
knife.
Tad, excuse me, Tad, I didn't interrupt you, please don't interrupt me. I'm hearing from you very strongly that the interactions need to be non-authoritarian. Is
Well,
that
there
correct?
might be occasion for having authority. Of course, the
But
police
it's-
should have some authority.
But
I'm
it's a
not saying they
reasonable
shouldn't have
response.
any.
It goes
But
back
it
to
is
that reasonable
absolutely
response.
unreasonable the way they use their authority, and that has to change. And we need to have some kind of policies in place so that when citizens come and say these people are rude, once they just escalate from this to killing us with absolute impunity.
Okay.
They are being paid by us,
So-
and that's it.
Thank
It's
you. Okay.
outrageous.
So, hang on one second, Greg. So, what I'd like to do, because you're already going into solution consciousness, so many of you, and the next questions are about solutions. What would you suggest? If you look at questions number 3 and 4, after we take our break, how do you think your goals can best be achieved? What are your specific suggestions and ideas? All right, so that's where we're going to go, and I know a lot of you have those on your mind. Greg, I was going to take a break.
1 second.
Okay, 1 second. I'll give you 30.
They charged me criminally in court. They sued me, and they lost. I sued them, and I won.
Okay.
But the crook in uniform is still there and promoted. That's not my way of policing.
Gotcha. And I think there's a recommendation that could come out of that when we come back from break. So we have a 10-minute break. Please come back at 1:15. Help yourself to pizza. All observers can have pizza too. You work just as hard listening. But everybody take a break, get some fresh air. Please be back at 1:15 because I'm starting with or without you.